Hey, Jose, here's another one for your collection, eh? Hey, look, bootleg! Hey, how come you're not playing hockey, eh?
How did you do that?
Look out, eh?
Now, I think you just pressed one of these buttons here.
Take off. You don't know.
Confined under the psychiatric care.
Hi, everybody. Will Alexander here with the inaugural edition of the Canadian Dog Show Drive. Dog Show Drive, Canada. I'm Will Alexander.
And I'm Yvonne Norton.
And we're going to talk about happenings in Canada. This week, we're going to talk about our week.
Our week.
We're going to talk about Ontario environment at dog shows right now, which is touch and go. And then we're going to follow up with across Canada. All that and more.
And more.
On the Canadian
Dog Show Drive. Canadian edition. Canada!
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Dog Show Drive, Canadian edition, brought to you from the home office in Copaconk, Ontario. I'm your host, Will Alexander, and your co-host is
Yvonne Norton.
Well, which I just call Y because I've always just called her Y. Yvonne used to work for me when I was handling dogs, and she worked for me for a long time, it seemed. It seemed like forever anyway. So
Thanks. That made me feel good. It was a forever ago.
It was a forever ago.
It was 2 children ago. We're now in their 20s.
Well, yes.
So
And one of them has worked for me.
That's true, too.
But we decided to do this, though, because we wanted to do a Canadian show scene update each week for everybody. Not just the show scene, the dog scene in general.
Everything.
We're going to have a lot of American input as well, too. So it'll be both. But we're going to be primarily Canadian because we're going to talk about stuff like the Grey Cup and Bob and Doug and stuff you guys just don't know about.
Exactly. We're here to educate.
That's right. So how is the weather up there and where you are now? Because Yvonne is north, not as north. Like she's more northern than I am. I'm only as north as like Detroit.
Yes. But I'm not as north as none of it.
Oh, we'll have none of that.
I gave you that one.
You did, okay.
So the weather up here,
It's frightful.
It's crap right now because it keeps raining instead of snowing. And I know no one wants it to snow, but it is about time. So
Snow is cleaner than rain, though.
Yeah.
Especially in the dog world.
Yes, exactly. So, oh well, it is what it is. So
Yeah, we've had a lot of rain as well.
Mhm.
And dogs get all muddy.
Yes. So first things first, Will, how I think everyone would like to know because you kind of disappeared for a little bit there. How are you feeling? How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Considering, like I was in the hospital from like August 6th to October. So I was in the hospital for quite some time. And I'm gonna like full disclosure, it was a bowel obstruction. They had to do emergency surgery. They had to do it twice. So I'm full of scars and whatnot, and I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I have a colostomy bag now, which is something that I have to deal with, but it's not permanent. I will be doing another surgery in February, I believe, and that'll be one of 2. I've got 2 more surgeries ahead of me. As long as I can stay strong and keep getting in better shape, which I feel each day I feel in better shape. And I have to thank the dog world. It was totally overwhelming, the response I got from the dog world. I have a hard time talking about it because it was like I said, overwhelming. It was, I can't even talk about it. But and the friends that jumped in, like Wayne Kavanaugh, he might as well have a Superman cape on. He's unbelievable. Monica Park, She was my pit bull when I thought they had me so drugged up, that I thought my roommate was Burton Cummings' backup singer. I didn't have a room. I know it was awesome, but there was no roommate.
Unfortunate. No, I know Monica. She went to the mat for you a lot because her and I had quite a few conversations.
I don't want to start saying names because there were so many of them that just.
Yeah.
And the first 3 weeks are, like I said, a blur to me. I don't hardly remember anything.
Yeah.
I know my mom was there every day. My sister was there, like.
We love you, Pam. We love you, Pam.
But see, I'd wake up and there she was. She'd just be reading another book, and it was always a different book each day because she got through a book a day almost.
She's a speed reader.
She is.
Good on Pam.
She's like Spencer on Criminal Minds.
He is good.
Yeah, Spencer. But yeah, things are going very well now. Though I've been to a few dog shows for a couple hours now to see people, and it's given me a chance to get things done at home. So
that's good.
Yeah,
that's
and I'm walking again. It was the strangest thing. When I first woke up, I didn't know anything was wrong with my legs, and I went to do something. I couldn't move. I thought,
was it just atrophy?
I had pinched a nerve in. They thought it was my back at first, and then eventually the neurologist did their test. They found it was a nerve behind my knee. And,
wasn't your sciatica?
Which I've had a lot of.
Yeah.
Unlike, I've had no gout though, like your mother. But anyway.
Yeah. No more. She gets the goat.
But yeah, that was the oddest thing, that I couldn't just get out of bed and walk to the bathroom. I couldn't do it. And then, but now I'm walking, and I was the other day I was walking across my front lawn. I thought, I'm going to try running across this front lawn to see if I can run and show a dog. Like that's dog. I'm not Irish setter speed, beagle speed.
All right.
So I did it, and somebody asked me, what were you being chased by? I said, my ego. But anyway, things are on the upswing, and
so you're on the mend, and you're judging. You are judging in next month, then, right?
I have an assignment, just a 1-day assignment in Brantford Kennel Club. I'm going to do hounds and sporting, and it's only not even an hour away. So that'll be my test. Okay. I actually did my first handling class this week.
Oh yes.
My first class back, and it went really well. Okay. But I was a little tired afterwards, you know. It's like bend over and go over the dogs each time. And bark out orders and stuff like that. So.
Well, you still have a few weeks before Brantford, right?
Oh, so, yeah. I'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm sure you will be.
What else happened? What happened in your week, Yvonne?
Well, I was working mostly, as I do, but on Sunday I had my final sanctioned match. So I am now ready to put I'm going to apply to be a judge. So
what are you judging? I think you've been judging most of the time that I've known you. You've been judging, but anyway.
That comes from my mother's side.
Yes.
Just to let you know.
So, anyway. What club held your sanction match for you?
It was the North Shore Dog Club, and they're a relatively new club. I do actually belong to that club, so they were very gracious and offered me a sanction match. My other match, the other local club did for me, the Lakehead Kennel Club, but I was getting verklempt because I couldn't believe the numbers of people that came out to support me. And at this time of year, like a lot of people don't have puppies left to show because everybody's shown puppies through the summer, and you know, not a lot of people need ring time. But you know, they dragged out their specials for me so that I could have graduates
numbers.
My numbers, and
we have to reach a certain amount of numbers in our sanction matches.
Yes,
to add to our ring stewarding hours.
Yeah, the total is $150 altogether. So we did. So I was thrilled about that. And then I was also very touched by just the number of people that I've known for my entire dog show life. And we got our first show dog when I was 4, so a long time, that just came to watch and support me. And I was very, very touched. So
Well, that's
it was
nice.
really
I've
nice.
always thought you were a little touched. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, my week made
Set
up
the kettle
of.
to the pot.
I'm going to go into this. This is for the Canadians out there. This week,
Yeah.
we had the Grey Cup. We had the Grey Cup in
Yeah.
British Columbia. It
Yep.
started off with Prince Harry because he was
I
representing the
saw that he
Invictus
was
Games.
there.
I know. I'm like, Prince Harry?
What's he
He
doing
was there talking about the football game and whatnot, and he was.
The
It seemed to be
Invictus Games. That's what he was.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
there. He was talking about the Invictus Games, but he was also talking about our game, and I think he was enjoying himself. And the Argos came out there with that was the 111th Grey Cup, and that was the Argos' 19th Grey Cup win, which is the most wins I think for one team.
Yes.
And that's the oldest sports team. Well, Argos are the oldest organized sports team in North America.
Mhm.
Yes, and but I did question one thing, and nothing against the Jonas Brothers. I'm not,
No.
but
Little
with the
cake on
amount
the
of
ocean or by the ocean.
with the amount of talent in Canada,
Right.
why did we have to choose a band from elsewhere to do our halftime show? We have so much talent in Canada,
Exactly.
and what I want to see next year, the Grey Cup's in Winnipeg. Yes, and I think that this would be the best halftime if they did a Guess Who reunion
Yes.
for halftime. Because the
Oh,
Guess Who were
Bert.
from Winnipeg, and Burton and Randy and the Guess Who have them come up and just do a couple of the songs. Just I think that
I
would be
think
the
we need
best.
to start writing some letters so that we make this happen.
All right.
I think we should. And then I think we could also probably participate in the halftime show.
Oh, you want us to participate because we have these mics here in our.
Yes.
I feel like, but do you remember the videos in the 80s of Band-Aid and We Are the World, We Are the Children, We are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving.
There's a choice you're making.
Okay. Anyway, let's carry on.
All right.
So with the current environment at our shows, mostly in Ontario now,
Yeah.
we are having some issues with, I guess, behavioral issues. And that's basically what it comes down to, behavioral issues from our youngsters.
Yes.
I don't want to go into deep detail, but a couple of years ago,
Some stuff happened. Some
stuff happened,
inappropriate
and it
stuff happened.
there was photos. And in today's world, you can't get away with anything. There is so much. Everybody has a camera. Everybody's on social network. You can't get away with anything. So they didn't get away with it.
Yeah.
And it got leaked, and people saw it, and things started to snowball after that.
Well,
And-
like it always does on social media too, right?
Right.
So
And who knows what's true and we had the picture, so we do know what's true.
yeah.
But there are other things that got added to it. That
Yeah.
Who knows? There was some are crazy, some are understandable. Like there was that. What I think we need to worry about as a community is our youngsters, younger than the handlers, our youngsters, the assistants, and below.
Yes.
It almost sounds like a bullying effect. You hear some of that. Once one person lets out a story, they just come flying in. And we start
Right.
hearing stories about assistants that were working for handlers and how
Yeah.
they were not mistreated, or how some of the dogs are treated. And we can't have any of that. We cannot have
No.
any of that. And I'm sure, and this is no excuse, but poor choices in alcohol come into play. And that's gotta stop. This is a business, and it's a 24-hour business, and that's 24 hours in a row. You can't choose your hours. You're
No,
open
you
24 hours because these are animals. So
Yeah.
you have to be available for your dogs.
Yeah.
The dogs come first. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. It was
When you're
never,
making a decision to do something silly or inappropriate, it's got to go through your head. What about the dogs? You
Yeah.
cannot. You cannot.
if this happens, are my dogs still safe?
Right.
Right. And like, got to be stuff like that. And that was never a question. I mean, like I said, I worked for you 20 plus years ago, and we had a great time showing dogs. We all had fun, like not just, you and I, the idiots, but I mean, the whole group of us, we all had fun. We all did stuff after dogs were done. We all, either whether we were out for dinner or, sometimes go to a bar or whatever, but there was always the respect that the dogs' safety and care was always first. No matter
the line that was never crossed. Like we enjoyed ourselves, but there was a line that was never crossed that we could still physically go to our dogs' aid if we
take
had
care
to.
of business and
Right.
get up the next morning and perform our jobs accordingly too. So,
and I don't think that the parties involved should be given a pass. I think there should be something. I don't know what yet.
some sense of
But
accountability.
of course, and sometimes the governing bodies don't come forward and look after these things. So I think even if they don't, I think that the parties involved should publicly come out and apologize, or even just step back from the game for a while and do some work on themselves.
Yeah. Yep.
It's really important, and
We
have to start thinking about people coming into our stores. Like, we want? How would you feel as a family coming to a dog show and seeing a setup that looks like they're intoxicated in the afternoon?
Yeah.
You can't have that. You just can't.
No.
It's nothing that ever happened in my setup. And a couple times early last year, I did see things, and I stepped up and I walked over and said, "You can't do that. You can't do that. This is your business. This is your livelihood, and you're being paid to look after." Well, I'm all stressed. I don't care how stressed you are. You don't drink when you're working.
This ain't the business for you.
Exactly.
You can't be stressed. Jeez. No, it's unfortunately that is the culture of a younger generation too. And I'm not going to say anything about mental health or whatever, because I know that there's issues, but I mean, I think we've convinced a lot of people that they have issues as well. And I wish we could just, let's work through it. Like, you can manage it, you can deal with it. Let's go. Right. So, but yeah, it's just.
Actually, when I hear those things, when I hear someone going off about how hard their life is this time, I hear your voice in my head going, whatever. Whatever.
Yeah. And when I hear people talk about being stressed, all I think was beagles are in now.
That was stressy. You guys weren't ready, and I had to show my beagle.
Yeah. I had to walk back to the setup to get my beagle because I was watching Springers.
But all seriousness, though, I think that we need to stand back and take a look at our community and start fixing what's wrong.
Yeah.
And I've heard you say it lots of times. If something's happening and you see it, step up and say something.
Say something. And if you're not comfortable saying something to the actual party, say it to other parties.
Job done.
The more the people say and not accept the behavior, the more change will come around.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. So let's.
What did you? Go ahead.
So let's.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sit.
So, I'd like to talk about what happened this week in dog shows across the country.
Oh, okay.
How about that?
I have to switch pages then. I thought we were going to do what we found on the internet. But okay.
No, that's not until later. Did you even read my little agenda?
Oh, I see.
Playing cards with my brother's kids.
All right. Okay. Go ahead.
All right. So there was 3 shows across.
I don't know the Stomp and Tom song, though. I'd sing it if I did. So.
Yes, you know.
I've been everywhere, man. I've seen.
Even
That's not it.
over there, man.
That's it. Okay.
Well, yes, but
Well, hopefully we can get Doc to put that in there, but I'm not sure if there's a copyright issue with that. So
we'll just play a short amount of it.
Oh. Or we could just sing. Go ahead. The floor is yours again.
Oh. Anyhow, so 3 shows across the country. We'll start out in Newfoundland.
I love Newfoundland.
Yes, Newfoundland. So they had 4 limited shows, Saturday and Sunday. And the judges out there were Mr. Patrick Mudge, Maribel Sy, Mary Spinelli, and Dr. Terrell Udenberg. And that's a far trip for Terrell, because that's all the way across the country.
I watched most of those best in shows, at least the morning ones I did, because it was 2 a day. So I actually, because Show Scene or CDF, Canadian Dog Fanciers, one or the other is always live streaming it.
Yes.
So I do enjoy it. And I'll tell you, when I was in my hospital bed, that saved me a lot. I watched a lot of dog shows. Anyway, go on, carry on about the Newfoundland Kennel Club.
All right. So their entry for Friday was Saturday was 68 and Saturday 65. They're kind of down this year from last year. It's hard to say as to why. Maybe it's the same thing, like nobody has puppies left.
So hard. Like, God bless them. It's and they want everybody there, but it's so hard to get there with your dog.
Yeah.
So
it's really, really tough. So unfortunately their entry was down about 15 to 20 dogs from the previous year, but who knows, maybe next year they'll be up. And I believe that's the last show of the year there for Newfoundland.
Is it for Newfoundland?
Yep, that's it for them. So
I love Newfoundland. I was there twice years ago. I really enjoyed myself there. So then in Ontario, we had the Georgina Kennel Club, and that was November 15th, 16th, and 17th.
Yep.
And they had on the panel was Irene Latchford, Jocelyn Gagne, Peter Laventhal Wolfish. And it looks like the entries, they all hovered around Friday was 256, Saturday was 293, Sunday was 277. And they had some limited shows, and they did pretty well. The Group 5 did 65 dogs. Group 1 did 75 dogs. It was up from last year. Friday last year was under 200 dogs, so they bumped up, and that's good to see. That's a nice kennel club. It's had to move around a couple times. Now it's in Lindsay, and Lindsay is like our Springfield. We have a lot of shows in Lindsay now. So, and and we all know the restaurants and things, so it's a fun place to go.
It's nice, and apparently they're building a new hotel there too, eh?
Yeah, they're building a new hotel there, and actually our show, the old Linda Torrance and myself and Daria, the old York Kennel and Rob, old York Kennel Club will be moving there not this year, not this coming year, the year after, because our numbers have gone up. So
nice. And the last show was out west in Lethbridge, the Lethbridge and District Kennel Club. Their judges were Lynn White, David Gilmore, Lucy Parody, our friend Judith Taylor. And they were slightly down about 25 dogs a day.
Wow.
Friday had just over 200. Saturday was 226 and Sunday was 216. And they also had limited shows. The limited shows still kind of held the same numbers. So that's a good thing.
I wonder why Lethbridge would be down, though, because in the last few years, it seems like the Western shows were always going up. So
yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe it's just that weekend because what was
do they have snow there already?
No, but the weather can get pretty
yucky.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, that's entries are entries. But I don't know. They have quite a few shows in a row now, right? And kind of all in the same area. So maybe people this year, Lethbridge wasn't the show they chose because is not this weekend Evelyn Kenny?
Is it? We'd have to look that up and see. That's your job, Garcia.
Yeah. Oh, Carolyn, find out if Evelyn Kenny's this week. I actually think it's next week. I actually don't think it's this weekend. I think it's next week.
This week coming up, though, is the Aurora Kennel Club in Toronto. And
Yes.
it's held in conjunction with the Pet Expo. Grant Crossman runs the whole operation, basically.
That's
There's
that's a fantastic site. Is that still where like?
International Center, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on this Saturday and see a bunch of people and watch Irish setters. I believe Frank Kane is judging Irish setters Saturday morning, so I want to go take a look, watch them. It'll be fun though. I'm looking forward to the show this weekend.
Yeah.
It's a busy show, and it reminds me of days gone by because it's a busy show.
Because it's not just the dog show.
No,
That Pet Expo is mental.
reptiles,
everything there.
cats,
Yes.
you name it, they're
Bunnies.
there.
Don't they have like a rabbit show there too? Like
I
there's
think
a
so.
bunch of stuff that goes on.
And it has a food concession like the old Sportsman show. You can get anything you want. But
Can you
it's
get
fun.
a beer? Just joking.
I don't know. Well, maybe.
See
Maybe
how-
there might be a Thunder Bay section where you can get a beer at noon.
Noon.
But anyway, back to across Canada.
Yes.
It's this time of year. I remember when I was showing dogs. If I was in the rankings, if I was in the running for number one position, I always came out with hives this time of year. Hives or
dandruff.
Shirley. No.
Oh.
No, I used to get cold sores this
Yes.
time of year. I'm stressing myself out.
And I used to name it Shirley.
Shirley. So I would say slowly but surely, I'm getting a cold sore, and Yvonne would say, "Oh, it's nice that you named it." So for the next 5 years, the fall came around and Shirley showed up.
Yep. Shirley was our travel companion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the race is on. Like the race
And the
is on.
race is on. And I don't know if the top dog will be able to be caught, but there is a lot of jockeying for
You'll be
position.
surprised with the numbers that happen in the fall.
Yeah, exactly. You can't, nothing is,
I wouldn't be sleeping soundly.
no. No. Oh, and then if
It's so much easier
anything
now.
happened to the dog, that would be like,
But it's
Why
so
did
much
you let
easier
that
now
happen?
because we have Canuck dogs, so it's easier
Yes.
to kind of keep track of things.
Oh.
When I was younger, we used to have to like try to do it ourselves, and the best one at it was always Bob Whitney. Bob Whitney would have it down to 10 dogs,
exactly.
and
Probably
then,
nothing to do with the fact that, like he's an accountant type person.
oh, exactly. I remember one time, our friend of the show, Doug Belcher, was still living in Canada, and he had a top winning terrier. I think it was a Wire Fox Terrier. And at the end of the weekend, Better Valley was our last show that at that time, and it was always a big show. Even back then, it was like 900 dogs a day.
Yep.
Which is big for Canada, considering America has more people in New York State than we have in Canada.
Exactly.
I remember him walking up to Bob and asking Bob how many points he had. And Bob, being Bob, he told him right as close as he thought he did. And our friend Doug was like, I think I beat you this year. No, he didn't. I think Doug was just getting into the metric system. Then he was doubling it in that 30. So because Bob ended up winning with his bull terrier. But those were fun times. I like those times because we didn't know who were the winners. We didn't know for sure.
Basically, wasn't it? We used to just basically account like 10% for absence.
Right. And back then, we used to, because I was showing mainly sporting dogs, every replacement was almost 100 points, which is a lot for up here, but that was an average. And then I would just add on the best it shows the dog won. And I would be pretty close. Not as close as Bob, but pretty close. But you can't do that now. You don't.
No. And now we know.
But you can follow along on Connect Dogs and know almost exactly where your dog stands.
Yeah. So pretty exciting.
What do we have coming up that's closing?
I do know. Hold on.
I know you do. That was part of your job to find closing dates. It says right here, closing dates.
You know what? There's nothing
Yvonne and the show's upcoming next weekend.
Yeah. Thanks. So watch this. There's the bus.
Carolyn! What's closing this week?
Do you have this website, Carolyn? I'm looking up what's closing. There was actually nothing closing this week.
Are you sure?
Yes. Why do you always doubt me? There was nothing closing this week. What am I trying to find? Even weekly summary? Calendar. Let's see. No, there's nothing closing this week because
Well, what's the next closing date then?
I am looking that up.
Oh, please.
Well, this is so much pressure.
Well, it says here on this agenda that it was supposed to be done. So I think that someone's going to be called into the office after this is over.
the post podcast meeting's going to be tough. These dates have all passed. December. Oh, I probably really should take out some of the agility stuff. That would be easier if I. Brantford, nope, that just closed.
Brantford closed. I have a really good judge there.
Yes, I heard Todd Foley's coming. Let's see. Oh, that's just rallying obedience. Apparently, I need to.
Well, next week we'll be more on the ball. This week we're going to jump ahead. We have more segments coming up. We have other things like next week, Yvonne. I want us to do this.
Okay.
Because dog shows, our podcast is based on the drive to a dog show, right?
Correct.
And what is always on the drive or near the dog show areas?
Coffee
shops, right? And most dog show people live on coffee.
Correct.
So I think it'd be interesting if we compared just that in our shows, the most common places to get coffee are Starbucks, Tim Hortons, or McDonald's.
Correct.
Right. So I think we should compare those coffees and come out with a Will and Why rating of the best coffees in Canada.
Exactly. We could do that.
Okay.
You don't even drink
and we're going to we want a new statement is asked professional. So if you have any questions, we then Weidmar and myself can pass it on to a professional and find out what the answer is.
Professional. So, or if you want to ask a judge a question, about either why judges have to do certain things when they're in the ring, or what irritates a judge the most, etc. Those kind of things.
What I always find is most interesting is if you're at a ringside and there's, say, 10 dogs in the ring, and somebody at ringside says, "How can he not see that dog?" Because he's got to give every dog 2+ minutes. And if your dog is not in that moment,
in that 2+ minutes,
performing well in that 2.5 minutes or whatever he gives you,
yes,
every time he looks back at your dog or that dog and it's a pretzel and you're trying to put it back together again, it's a hard call. Until you're in the middle of the ring doing the pointing, it's really hard to do that. It's easy to be a ringside judge. It's really easy because you have 20 minutes to figure out which is the best one, and you can sit there and see everything they do. Where the judge has to go through those 10 dogs and give each dog its due time according to your CKC. So not as easy as it looks, Yvonne.
Thanks, Will. Glad you cleared that up. The other thing we want to bring into the show too is some history.
Right.
We would like to do some history, and that being people that have been in our sport. You know what? We should just pop over to this real quick. This month has been a hard month for us as far as dog show departures.
It's been a hard year.
Well,
this month, like end of October, November, was tough.
We were getting hit hard and fast. Fast.
Yeah, October 28th, we lost an icon to our world up here, Harold Butler. Harold was 87 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He had been showing dogs
probably since Jesus was a baby.
Oh, you don't want to get religion into this.
Sorry.
I think he started in the 50s anyway.
Yeah.
And he was always a top ranked handler. He mostly started from Quebec. He actually lived in Ontario as a youngster and moved to Quebec. Yeah. He what I love when I think about Harold, I think about those old CDF, the original Canadian Dog Fancier ads, where him dressed up as Santa Claus with Pharaoh, the Greyhound, Laura Brooks sporting chance, and it became almost a storyline to see what Harold and Pharaoh were going to do on the next cover.
Yes.
And he touched so many handlers' lives in their careers as being a mentor, as for giving us crap when we deserve to get crap.
Oh yeah.
Giving us praise when we deserve praise.
Yep.
But his motto was old age and treachery will overcome youth and skill.
Always.
But it was interesting the different eras you think of Harold. Like I love the era of Susan Hillman and Harold Butler.
Yeah.
Because they were so close. They were such friends. And when they lived on almost opposite ends of the country.
Yeah.
And when they got together, it was like they hadn't been apart.
Yeah.
And they would sing Me and My Bobby McGee, and they would have their cigarettes and their drink after the show. And it was fun to be around.
It was.
So our world's going to miss Harold Butler.
Yeah. And then out in the West, Jerry Taylor, she passed. Geraldine Taylor, she passed beginning of November on the 5th. And she passed away of cancer. And I just had seen her in April, and I'm telling you, she looked great.
She always looked great. She judged here at Laura Gorge a few years back, and I thought she was great. She was on the ball. Yeah. She was 86 years old, and I don't think she was a young 86. Like she was.
Oh, for sure. Like I would the only reason why I would even gather that she would have been that age is because I've known her like forever, right?
Oh, for sure. Her and George at the Fort Garry Kennel Club.
Yep. 30 something plus years.
My favorite story of the Fort Garry Kennel Club is I was into one of the dressing rooms getting ready, and George and Jerry ran the show, so they didn't want anybody to be late, especially for somebody that flew into their show. Yeah. And I was in there, and I was doing some work on my Beagle, just touching things up. And George comes barging into the dressing room. He says, "Rembrandt, you're going to miss Beagles."
Good old George. Yeah. But they woven into the fabric of Manitoba for sure.
Oh, no question. Yeah.
Without fail. And then sadly, Neil Graves passed away. And I didn't realize, I knew they had moved away. Him and Wendy had retired, and they were living in Ecuador.
Good for them.
Yeah. And Neil,
was, we don't know his age, but he was mid 70s, maybe.
Yeah, mid to late 70s. And he was a firefighter. He'd been a firefighter for 32 years for the city of Calgary.
Yeah.
So, and they bred some beautiful losses. He was
an all-breed judge for a lot of those years.
Yes, he was.
And Neil was a good judge. You always got a good, when you enter your dog under Neil, he gave you a fair shake, and he was always
extremely pleasant to show to.
Oh, yeah.
And like so easy to get along with too. He was always on an even keel. Very little ever upset him, as far like when you watched him in the ring, the patience of Job. Oh, they're mean.
Would you stop it?
I don't know. Maybe I have to go to church on Sunday. I'm not sure. Anyway.
I need bold now, Doc.
So anyway, it was really a
rough couple weeks there for us.
For sure. But speaking with that, history, we're going to talk about some people that have been with us.
In the past, but were a huge, impactful members of our community. And not like handlers, judges, breeders, even builders, because there are some builders out there that built shows that became iconic shows for us.
Yes. Yeah. And then so we're going to talk about some old shows too. And what other things are we going to talk about?
I want to touch on, I'd like to touch on what happenings in the CKC. We'll have to look into that though. And this is what's going on. I like to keep people updated as best because I want to myself be updated.
Yes. Because that's a daunting task at time, keeping yourself updated.
Right. So. You didn't even mention my T-shirt yet.
Oh, yeah. What's on your T-shirt, Will?
You know who that is?
Oh, I actually do. Yes.
That's Zach Hyman, the
Zach?
hardest working player in the NHL. Zach Hyman.
There
That's
you
why
go.
he's my favorite player. I wish he was still in the Leafs, but he's my favorite player, Zach. I used to show his dad's Old English sheepdogs.
Yes.
I've known Zach since he was a youngster, and he's always been the most polite person, young man. Even now, I went to a game a few years ago with his dad and met him after the game, and you never know he was a NHL superstar just the way he talks to everybody.
Yeah. My word is nice. Oh, there's my phone. My phone is having issues today.
Is it? What did it say?
it's just-
Language.
Yeah.
Language.
Freaks out.
Oh,
Winner.
well.
So is that a Stanley Cup behind you there, Will? Besides your Oscar?
My Oscar. They like me. They really like me. That's the Winky.
That's the
And yes, that's the Stanley Cup, which I'm sure
That's
I'll be a
pretty.
part of a victorious team at some point in
Some
my
point in time.
career.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get on with the show. On with the show. This is it.
Are we going on with the show, or can we close the show?
Well, we're going to close the show. We have one more thing I want
Oh,
to say.
yes.
Language.
I was watching my language. I wasn't going to swear.
Carolyn, take my phone. I don't know why it's on. Oh, I do know why it's on because I forgot to put it on
You
silent.
need to get a hold of us. You can get a hold of us at dogshowtips@gmail.com and have subject Dog Show Drive Canada and
Yes.
ask your question. That question can be anything you want it to be. It can be about advertising on the show,
'Cause we have-
club shout outs.
Yes.
And if you have any of those questions, our staff will be happy to send you off a letter explaining all those things to you.
Yes.
I
Our
thi- I
staff,
think,
Carolyn.
Carolyn.
Poor Carolyn. You're welcome. I don't really think she signed up for this, but
That's what.
how we do.
I
Yeah,
think
so
that's it for this week,
definitely,
though.
if people want some advertising, yeah, for sure, get in touch with us. You want to do a spotlight on your show?
Anything you want us
touch.
to write you a song and sing it for you?
Oh, we'll do
We can do
that.
anything here on the Canadian
will.
Dog Show Drive.
Yes, we will. It's
I'm
time
looking
to
forward to
put
that.
on makeup.
You know who is sometimes at the Pet Expo?
Who?
Don Cherry.
Get out.
Because he has a booth there, the Don Cherry Rescue, and I'm gonna go see him, see if he's there.
Can you get him? Get him on. Get him on our show.
All
Work
right.
on it.
I'll work on it.
Work
Don,
on
we
it.
want you on the show.
Please.
We won't have Ron on, I promise
Kids.
you.
Listen, you kids.
Anyway, that's it for this week's Dog Show Drive. So everybody out there driving to the dog show,
Seatbelt on, glasses on.
right, stay safe out there, guys. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Seems that everything's gone wrong since Canada came along. Blame Canada! Blame Canada!
They're not even a real country anyway.